بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Last class we stopped at the mention of the seven attributes that every layman should know, that every mukallaf should know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The author said, وَأَنَّهُ حَيٌّ وَلَهُ حَيَاةٌ وَأَنَّهُ مُرِيدٌ وَلَهُ إِرَادَةٌ وَأَنَّهُ قَادِرٌ وَلَهُ قُدْرَةٌ وَأَنَّهُ عَالِمٌ وَلَهُ عِلْمٌ وَأَنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ وَلَهُ سَمْعٌ وأنه بصير له بصر وأنه متكلم وله كلام. So the seven attributes of life: will, power, knowledge, hearing, sight, and speech. These seven attributes, and in Maturidi books, there's there's number 8, which is takween, which we'll leave for later. These seven attributes or 8 attributes are always mentioned in the books of Ahlul Sunnah, whether it's Ash'aris, Maturidis, or even the Hanabila in the later stages. There's always a mention of these seven and not others. What is the reason for this? A lot of people from a certain group like to claim that Ash'aris only believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has 7 attributes, which is obviously nonsense. The reason these 7 are always mentioned is because these 7 are arguably known to everyone by rational reasons alone, and there's no need for any texts, whether hadith or sunnah, to know these 7 attributes. That every mukallaf, every uh, person who is knowledgeable and of age should be able to reach the conclusion without any text that there is a God who has these attributes. That's first reason. The first reason is that anyone can reach this conclusion. The second reason is that from these 7, almost, some might say all, but I would say almost every single attribute other than these can be determined from knowing these 7. What does that mean? It means every attribute. For example, giving sustenance. Rizq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Razzaq. This is one of his attributes, and one of his names is that he gives sustenance to people. This is a combination of ability, qudra, and irada, which is being willing to give sustenance. So all the attributes are in some way or another a combination of these. Similarly, rahmah, mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mercy in this dunya is, in essence, creating something that makes your life easier. For example, someone who's going through difficulty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them money. In the akhirah, mercy is removing punishment, which is, in both cases, the dunya and the akhirah, it's, at the end of the day, it's a combination of being willing to be merciful and having the power to be merciful. So all the attributes, arguably all the attributes, can be known of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if these 7 are known. And that's the reason that these 7 are always focused on in great detail in the books of al-Sunnah. And the process, the rational process of getting to know why these 7 are known by necessity, why any rational person can reach this conclusion without any text, this is something for another book, not in our context. Any of the Sanusi books will teach you this process. As for the Maturidis, you can ask them which books are good at explaining this. But we'll leave explaining it for now, and just know that every mukallaf needs to know these attributes. And so he continues. وأن جميع الصفات التي وصف به نفسه في كتابه أو صحت عن نبيه محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم كالوجه والعين واليدين والاستواء على العرش والنزول إلى السماء الدنيا والمجيء يوم القيامة ثابتة وإنما هي على الوجه الذي يعلمه والمعنى الذي يريده. And every attribute that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes himself by or is authentically narrated from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, such as al-wajh, wal-ayn, wal-yadayn, istiwa on the throne, al-arsh, and al-nuzul to the sama dunya, coming down to um, the lower heaven during the last third of the night, as is in the hadith, and coming on Yawm al-Qiyamah, as is in the ayah. These are all thabita. What does thabita mean in Arabic? It means that they are, uh, in a sense, they are correct. When we say thabbata in Arabic, thabbata is to attach something to something else. When we say something is thabit, it's as if it's attached. That means it's for certain. It's not a matter of discussion. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes himself as something in the Quran, then it's thabit. It's attached, meaning the attribute, it's attached to reality, it's attached to our belief. It means you can't say that, no, I don't believe this is an attribute, such as the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila who say all these attributes are, uh, we can't believe in them because the reason X, Y, Z. We say they're thabit. All these attributes are authentic. وَإِنَّمَا هِيَ عَلَى الْوَجْهِ الَّذِي يَعْلَمُ. And they, meaning the attributes, are on the meaning or the modality that he knows, وَالْمَعْنَى الَّذِي يُرِيدُهُ, and the meaning that he wants from it. لَا كَمَا تَتَصَوَّرُهُ الْأَفْكَارُ مِنْ صِفَاتِ الْمُحْدَثَاتِ. Unlike what uh, the minds are able to conceive based off attributes of created things. So, such as the Imam, I'm not sure if this sentence is in the Sharh or the Mat. No, it's in the Mat. The quote from Imam Ahmad. That anything that appears in the mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than that. The human mind, you can either, in your head, envision something based off what you have seen. You've seen your father, so you can envision the appearance of your father in your mind. Or you can imagine something, based off what you've seen, but not something in reality. For example, you've seen a bird with wings, you've seen an elephant. You can kind of imagine, an elephant with wings. Similarly, you can imagine, um, a lion with 6 legs, because you know what a leg is in your mind. You're able to put that together. Similarly, some people, based off what they hear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes, and this is something natural, it's not necessarily sinful. This is something that the mind cannot stop itself from doing. When it hears something, sometimes an image comes to mind. So some people, when they hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attributes, an image comes to mind. And so Imam Ahmad says, anything that comes to mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than that. And the reason is because, as I said, the mind puts together these images based off things and attributes that it has seen throughout the world, based off things it's seen here or there, and put together. All these different pieces are all created attributes. Therefore, anything that the mind puts together in its head has to be different than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these are all created attributes, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than that. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he has yadayn, a lot of people say, okay, humans have hands, elephants have hands, monkeys have hands, and this distorted type of thinking. These are all attributes of created things. So any image, any idea, any concept of what the meaning of this is, it has to be based off what you've seen in created things, and therefore automatically it's wrong. Similarly, any attribute. You say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a face, but it is not like the face of created things. When you say this to some people, what they think is that, okay, it's like the face of a human, but something about it is different. This is not the case at all. Any image of any face, any real or fictional, fantasy, any type of face that comes to mind is put together based off of things you have seen. And this is something that it's a small detail when reading these types of texts. A lot of people will say, don't we know the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge? Don't we know the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power? We say yes. When someone asks me, what's the meaning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qudra? Do I say it's a qudra, it's a power that's unlike humans' power, but it's a power that is befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't say that. We say that it is the ability to bring forth or destroy anything from the mumkinat, anything from the possible beings. So to create a human, to not create a thing that doesn't exist, whatever. This is, we have an actual definition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's qudra. The reason this is different than wajh, yadayn, aynayn, etc. When we take this definition of qudra that we just have, this definition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, we look at it. Does this, in the Arabic language, mean power? When I say the word qudra in Arabic, it can mean many things. It can mean a human's power, it can mean uh, shaitan's power, it can mean Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. So it's an umbrella term and many things might fit under it. We take the definition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and we try to fit it under it. We say, does the Arabic language accept this meaning of qudra? Is it a possible meaning of qudra? Same thing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge, sight, hearing, etc. And the answer is yes. When we take this definition, we see that in the Arabic language, this can be called qudra. This is the first condition. The second condition is that we look at all of the definitions of power of created things. We look at the definition of qudra for a human, and we compare it to the definition of Allah's qudra that we just, defined. We see, is there any overlap? And the answer is there's zero overlap. And so these are the two conditions. The definition of the attribute must not share anything with the definition of that attribute for a created thing. And the second condition is that it has to fit under the language, under the meaning of that word in the Arabic language. Now, let's look at the word yad, which in Arabic translates to hand. It has many meanings. It can mean a limb, it can mean power, it can mean ability, it can mean blessing, it can mean many things. Some of them are haqiqa, some of them are majaz. We look at the haqiqi meaning. We try to find a definition that fits under the umbrella term of the word yad in Arabic and is different than all of the definitions of yad for created things. Let's draw this out to help visualize. 1 second. We have here the word yad. We have possible definition 1, possible definition 2, possible definition 3, possible definition 4. We look at all these haqiqi definitions. We look at the first one. Let's forget what the actual definitions are. It's explaining the concept. We look at the first definition. We say it's a limb. Is this possible to be the definition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's yad? We say no, because this is the definition for created things. We look at definition 2. We say this can't be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's definition for yad. Look at 3 and 4 and we cross them out. And we look at, for example, knowledge. We say ilm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's ilm, the definition of it is the knowledge of every possible thing, every mumkinat, all the mumkinat. His knowledge encompasses the mumkinat and the mustahilat and the wajibat. This is the definition of knowledge. So we look at this definition, right? Let's look at the first one here. Let's say the first one is the definition of human's knowledge. What's the definition of human's knowledge? It's a collection of ideas that is stored in the brain and is pieced together based off of, rational faculties. This definition for humans, does it fall under the Arabic definition of ilm? In the classical Arabic language, we say yes. So it meets the first condition. The second condition, is this befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We say no, because it's similar to created definitions, right? And so we cross out this definition. And we cross out the second one, and then we have the third one, which is the definition we gave you, I gave in the beginning. Knowledge of all the mumkinat, mustahilat, and wajibat. Does this definition I just repeated fall under the Arabic meaning of ilm? Yes. Is it befitting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Also yes, because no other entity has this definition, so it's not, there's no tashabuh, there's no similarity between created things here, and so we know that this is the definition of Allah's ilm. And so we say, we believe in Allah's ilm in a haqiqi meaning without tashbih. So we believe in the ilm with the haqiqi meaning without the tashbih. What does it mean without the tashbih? It means we cross out two and one. And so we're left with this definition of Allah's ilm. Look at yad. Okay, we believe in the yad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a yad. It's haqiqi, but there's no tashbih. What does that leave us with? It leaves us with none of the definitions in the Arabic language. And so we say that it's a haqiqi yad, but the meaning of it is known by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not known by us, which is tafweed. This is tafweed ijmali, which is the tafweed of the Hanabila, and then there's tafweed tafsili, which is also known as ta'wil, which is what the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya, they said this is confusing to the layman. Let's include the majazi definitions, the metaphorical definitions of yad, such as blessing, such as not, such as power, etc. One second. And so they choose this meaning of yad. The Hanabila and the people who do tafweed in general, even from the Ash'ari who do tafweed, they're stuck with these haqiqi definitions. They can't access the majazi definitions. And so they say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a haqiqi yad without tashbih or tashseem, etc. And so they cross out all the definitions and they're left with no definition. Whereas for ilm, even the mufawwidah, they took all these definitions. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ilm. He has a haqiqi ilm. He has a real ilm that is, there's no tashbih, there's no similarity with the created things, and there's no tashseem, tasbih, all these things that have to be, you know, excuse me, sorry. All these things that have to be negated for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is the difference between these attributes and these attributes. Some of the Salafis will come and say, you guys believe in ilm, why don't you believe in yad and istiwa and nuzul and maji? The answer is we do. We treat all the attributes the exact same way. However, the result is different. Because of the available definitions of these certain words, because of the available definitions in the Arabic language, for some attributes we end up having definitions. For some attributes we end up not having any definition. And so we are forced to use tafweed. And this is the difference between these two sets of attributes. If you would excuse me, guys, for just 1 minute. Sorry, I had to take a call. Like, does anyone have any questions about this? I know the annotations might not be clear. Does anyone have any question about anything we discussed until now before we move on to the uh, next part?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam.
Sheikh, you mentioned the meaning of tafweed is we believe in hakiki definition. What does it mean, Sheikh? Hakiki and tashbih.
What does it mean, haqiqi and tashbih? So, any of you who attended one of the first lessons in al-Waraqat, and the recording is available on YouTube, I go into depth about this. What's the line between haqiqi and majaz? Arguably, or generally, the most accepted line between them is that haqiqi meanings are the meanings that the Arabs placed for this word in the beginning of the use of the language. So, for example, those who follow this definition will look at yad. They'll say that when the Arabs, took the sound, these letters, yad, yeah, and then they took this word and they placed it for a specific meaning, which is the limb, right? This is called wada in Arabic. In Nahu, in Arabic grammar, we call this process wada, that they place the word somewhere. Now, any meaning that is developed after this is called a majazi meaning. The haqiqi meaning is, again, according to this first definition of haqiqi, any definition that is used for the original, the original usage of the word, that is haqiqi, and everything that comes after that, later on, people would say, can you give me a hand? This is something that came on later. It's a figure of speech that developed along with just normal human interaction over the ages. This is called majaz, right? So in tafweed, arguably, what some of the Hanabila will say is that when you take a sifa, when you take an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it has to be a haqiqi meaning, right? It can't be a metaphorical meaning. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He has a wajh in Arabic usually translates to face. The original meaning is, something that it's something you face, but it's not necessarily the human face. The wajh is something you face, if you're in front of the building and the front side of the building, you say that the front is the wajiha of the building in Arabic. You say it's the wajiha, it means it's the thing that faces you. So this is the original meaning, and then things develop over time. People start using it for tables. The wajh of the table, the face of the table that is facing you, that's upwards. People later on will develop majazi meanings. So the Hanabila, they would say, and those who agree with them from the Ash'ari, is that when you take the word wajh, when we take the context of the ayah and the verse, we have no reason to believe it's a metaphor, right? This is what they say. There's no reason to say that this is a metaphor. And so they will say, we have to believe in this according to the haqiqi meaning. We have no reason to do ta'weel and say it's a metaphor. It's the haqiqi meaning without tashbih and without tajsim. So they take the meaning and they remove tajsim. And that removes all of the haqiqi meanings in the Arabic language, because we said that the meaning is something that faces you. And so this is a physical attribute. Something that faces you, it's geometry. It's something faces you or something not, it has sides. We're talking about sides now. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have sides because He's not a thing of, He's not a physical creation with 3 dimensions or any dimension or any, material sides or different locations relative to one another. And so we say the Hanabil say it's the haqiqi meaning without tashbih and without tajsim. So we cross out all the meanings, all the haqiqi meanings of wajh that imply tajsim. What are we left with? We're left with no real meaning because all of the meanings have been crossed out. And so we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a wajh. It is unlike the wajh of created things. There's no tashseem, there's no tashbih, and we stop it there. Some people misunderstand this from the Salafis and they say, no, this means he has a face, but it's not similar to the faces of created things, but it's still a face. No, because in the Arabic language, once we say bila tashbih, bila tashseem, all the meanings have been crossed out, right? This is tafweed ijmali. Tafweed is to, uh, I don't know what the exact English word would be, but to leave the meaning to Allah. We say, uh, when you do something yourself, you're taking on something, it's the opposite of tafweed. When you've given yourself the responsibility of applying a definition, it's the opposite of tafweed. Tafweed is you're not giving yourself the responsibility of placing a definition because it is not within your mental capability. Because you're not understanding exactly how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a wajh, because the wajh that you know, it doesn't apply to him. And so it's tafweed. You give the definition making to Allah. You give the meaning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why we say al-ma'na alladhi yuridu, the meaning that He wants. لا كما تتصوره الأفكار من صفات المحدثات. Unlike what any attribute you can, think about based off of things you have seen in the creation. Does that answer the question, or is there still a specific part that you want to ask about?
Yes, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Allahu يجل عن ذلك. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala transcends to be similar to creation, is above that. لأن الصفة فرع الذات. The attribute it's a branch off of the actual existence. فكما نؤمن بوجود الذات المقدسة من غير تمثيل ولا تكييف فكذلك الصفات. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's essence is that in Arabic is like the self or the essence, because we believe, as he says, فكما نؤمن بوجود الذات المقدسة, just as we believe in a essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is dissimilar to anything and has no modality, it has no physical modality. Similarly, the attributes have to be like that because the attributes branch off of the essence itself. طيب. وقال الإمام أحمد بن محمد رحمه الله تعالى: كل ما يخطر ببالك فالله بخلاف ذلك. Imam Ahmad radiallahu anhu says, anything that enters your mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than that. No matter what image, what sound, what concept, what anything that enters your mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is different than that. وقد قال الإمام الشافعي رحمه الله تعالى: آمنت بما جاء من عند الله على مراد الله وعقولنا معزولة عن التفكر في حقيقة ذاته قاصرة عن الإحاطة بكنه صفاته. الإمام الشافعي رضي الله عنه says, I believe, or I believed, بما جاء من عند الله, what has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the Quran and the Sunnah. I believed in it على مراد الله, upon the intention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وعقولنا معزولة عن التفكر. Our minds are isolated from being able to think about the reality of His essence. قاصرة عن الإحاطة. So it's قاصرة, it falls short. Our minds fall short of being able to truly understand. Al-ihata in Arabic is to encompass. When you encompass something in your mind, it means you're understanding the entire concept, right? Your mind comes short of being able to have a concept that is muhit, that actually understands Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holistically, and similarly His attributes. طيب. That is where we'll stop for today because of the time, and it's also the end of the topic. So better not to begin a topic and be cut off in the middle of it. Like, anyone have any questions before uh, today's lessons end? Sorry, I just saw the comment in the chat. Sheikh, so whatever they call tafweed al-kayfiyya is not correct, right? Because I think they used the quote of Imam Malik to support that. So the famous quote of Imam Malik, rahimahullah, first of all, it comes in many different wordings. The authentic one, and I know someone who has done he's written an entire report in English around the different asanid of this story, and he shows you which ones are correct and which ones are not. Uh, he says, rahimahullah, الاستواء معلوم والكيف غير معقول. He says the istiwa is known and والكيف غير معقول. He says the kayf, the modality, it is it is not comprehensible. It is غير معقول. It is you're unable to understand it. This is تفويض الكيفية. It means that any meaning you know, um, it is removed. The adulteration of this quote, as many people use it, is that he says the meaning is known, but the modality or the howness is unknown. When you see anyone, whether written or speaking, when they translate al-kayfiyya into the howness, this just understand that you're not supposed to be talking to them because they're not understanding Arabic correctly. You know, when you tell someone something in Arabic, you tell someone a story, and they're like, "Kayf," it means how. You know, I tell someone I got a bunch of money, and he says "Kayf," it means how did you get money? And so they translate this the same way. They say al-kayfiyya, it means the howness. So they say, no, according to Imam Malik, we know the meaning of istiwa, but the howness is unknown. So we know he did istiwa, but we don't know how he did it. This is tashsim exactly. When you say that we know the meaning, it means it's like you're saying he did something that implies tashsim, but he did it without tashsim, but we don't know how. It's a contradiction. It's a mockery of the Arabic language. Anyone who understands it this way, and it is very far removed from what Imam Malik meant, rahimahullah. Like it's not even they took the quote and they misunderstood it. It's a misunderstanding of the words being used themselves. That's an entire matter separate from the fact that the quote they use it's not the authentic one. They use a quote that's the wording in it is not correct. And so yeah, that's the short answer. Whatever they call تفويض الكيفية is not correct the way they understand it. Yeah. There's no such thing as إثبات المعنى وتفويض الكيفية. There's no saying the meaning is known but the كيفية is unknown. It's circular reasoning. Anyone who says this is something I've always done. They tell you the meaning of yad is known. Ask them, okay, tell me what the meaning of yad is. They're like, a yad is a yad. It's circular. They themselves, they don't know how to give you the definition of the things that they fight. They spend their entire lives fighting to prove that the meaning of this is known, and then they don't provide you what the meaning is. Ask the Ahl Sunnah what the meaning of ilm, qudra, basar, sam'. Ask them what the meaning of these attributes are. We'll give you an exact definition, a very precise definition. Ask a Salafi what the meaning of yad is. They're like, a yad is a yad. And then we'll quote some weak hadith that's attributed to Ibn Abbas in some obscure tafsir book where he says al-yadan al-yadan. It's not defining the word. It's hiding behind some false narration. Ask anyone who says تفويض الإثبات, we have to prove the meaning, we have to believe in the meaning, but we say the howness is unknown. Ask them what the meaning is, they won't be able to tell you. Same thing for all the attributes that are, like saq, which is shin. They'll be like, the meaning is known, but the kayfiyya is unknown. Ask them, what is the meaning of saq? Give me a definition of shin, like a shin, the part of your leg. Give me a definition of shin, of saq, that doesn't have tashsim in it. For $1 million. It's impossible. Anyways, uh, I think the meeting will run out in a few seconds. So